fact that you've created this balance and this beauty and this grace and this ease is really admirable.
Thank you. You know, when it comes to exercise with that, and I don't know if this will speak to some of the, especially women that have been in the life is running them mode, and you don't feel very much at choice at the pace that you're having to go. There's something about being able to be at choice to slow down, to listen, and to give voice to the emotions that are coming through. And again, finding a practice with movement, again, it can be a walk, it can be some form of even dance, yoga-esque stretch, letting sound move through, just so that it's not getting stuck and stagnant in the body. And then that comes back to the conversation we were saying earlier about like how much energy is in the system, and where I'm having a lot of compassion for people that are extremely sedentary. Again, there's a really good reason for that. Yeah. And, you know, something that we've got that we were talking about before, that is something we could even move into, is that when you look at generationally what was modeled, and you look at what epigenetics are, the field between people, you look at genetically the energetics behind a family. You know, I look at my family, my parents, they were hustle, bustle, go, go, go. And because they were so busy and they valued work and getting things done and being organized so much, exercise was not a part of us growing up because that sounded like a luxury. That was a luxury. Rest felt like a luxury. We needed to be doing something productive. And I can say that I've been a seasonal exerciser, but over the past 12 years, it's been more of an intuitive practice. And I just want to encourage people about really tuning into being careful about blame or the shame thing, and look at maybe their lineage, you know, looking backwards to their parents, what was modeled, and see if they're actually fulfilling some of that moving forward, and to realize they're at choice. Once this comes into the light, they're at choice to shift that. That's what you guys have been doing. I believe that that's what we're doing, and doing it out of love, and then having so much compassion for the people that have gone before us.
You really bring up a huge topic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add that it's really important to notice if some of the patterns that you're experiencing are not patterns that, if some of the patterns that you're experiencing that you identify with are also in your parents or something that your parents do, like does your parents stay up late to work and then go to bed late, and do you stay up late and then go to bed late and wake up early in the morning, and they wake up early in the morning, something like that. Like, there may be patterns that you have that you inherited almost from your parents or from people that you're related to or from people that you look up to, that maybe don't have all of their things perfectly aligned for them. So...
And even rebellions, too. Like, I think a lot of people rebel against their parents and blame their family for problems. Like, I used to hate her because she would preach, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself, Penelope. You're so beautiful. She told me I was beautiful when I was 300 pounds. I'm like, stop.
You were.
But that didn't help me, though. Like, it didn't help me. And another thing, too, is, like, she was telling me that she was telling other people that they were beautiful, but she didn't actually believe that about herself fully.
It's true, yeah, it's true.
Fully. And so that reflection was like, wait, why are you telling me to be something if you're not embodying that 100%?
Yeah.
And I know it's hard for parents, and I know it's hard for people, but I think, like, we go back to, like, there's no excuses. Like, when you're raising children, you have to be, like, concrete in yourself.
It is such a big responsibility.
And even if you're not concrete, like, hide it or something, because I think showing it, like, just made me hate myself even more. Because I resented her my whole life, because I was like, she's so beautiful and she doesn't like herself, and she's, like, a perfect example of, like, a beautiful woman who's active and healthy and everything. And every guy, like, in every store will go up to her and, like, hit on her and get with her. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how beautiful she is inside and out. And so seeing her be like, oh, I don't like myself, made me hate myself 10 times more.
I'm sorry. And this was something I definitely wanted to touch on in this this episode, because what we think and feel, actually what we feel is something you guys are picking up on way more than really anything we're saying. And a lot of people are commenting on our Instagram posts and on our YouTube channel saying, well, I have the fat gene. I genetically am predisposed to being fat. And I am like, don't believe it. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I believe in what Shannon was just talking about, the epigenetics, which means that we have a genetic predisposition, sure, and we have the 100% responsibility and accountability in making different choices so that we can actually change that gene expression. And specifically with the predisposition of learning habits from our parents, like you were talking about, and also chemically, biochemically, but we absolutely have the power to shift that, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you, absolutely. I actually was led to tell a story. So I have a friend, and he's a year younger than me. I went to school with him, and his parents are both over 600 pounds.
Wow.
And he himself, but he was about 200 pounds when I first met him. And he had followed like his parents' kind of lifestyles and stuff, and they would always eat greasy, sugary, unhealthy foods, and he decided he didn't want to live by that because he was more influenced by his friends than he was by his parents. So he, after getting a girlfriend, I've seen him massively change over the last year and a half. He's now like 160 pounds of pure muscle.
Wow.
And he like works out every day. He runs 8 miles sometimes. He eats healthier. He eats completely different food from his parents. He kind of is annoyed by his parents sometimes because they get angry at him for, being healthy.
Wow.
And he's like, they're still 600 pounds, but he's just 160 pounds, and he is, he feels good. He looks good. He doesn't fit in any of his clothes anymore. So I keep telling him to get a new pair of pants. And he recently got a girlfriend, and he's like, oh gosh, I got to work out even more now. It's so funny. But yeah, it's incredible. Like,
and Rachel, that's real body positivity.
Yeah.
It's inspiring people and inspiring overweight people, underweight people to get to a healthy weight, to move their bodies and fuel their bodies in a healthy way. And healthy is now a bad word to say. It's bad to say you can be healthy, you should be healthy. And it's like, why is that a bad word? Because telling people that being 600 pounds is healthy is actually doing more harm than we really realize. And telling underweight people that they're beautiful, it's also doing way more harm than we realize. And so there has to be this balance, and like you're talking about, inspiring people to move their body every day is the best thing we can do for people. And that's what I believe the body positivity movement should be.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think really it's been a process of acceptance for me about, what I wanted to have for my body, and then realizing what I can have with my body that's not surgically imposed. And I think it's just been a process of acceptance. So I'm sorry that you had to pay the price of some of my hard self-talk. But I do have to say, and I don't know if Shannon, you can relate, of this process of like just being honest with ourselves about this is who I am, and also this is who I am not. And then coming to terms with that, and then really inserting it with a lot of love, acceptance, and patience and understanding. And it didn't happen overnight. I definitely wasn't born into it. I mean, I think, as you all know, my mother died young at 59, and she struggled with compulsive eating disorder my entire life. And my grandmother, her mom, though, she was super fit. She loved to dance, and I'm named after her, Helene, and she was amazing. So I don't know what happened with my mom exactly, but it just can't continue. So that's, of course, why we're doing this.
I think something important to bring up is there's a very, very big issue in today's society around both mental and emotional stability and well-being. Like I know I have numerous friends that will just claim, oh yeah, I'm mentally unstable.
Yeah.
Like it's an identity thing. Like self-diagnosis of ADHD, ADD, all of these things
I know those people too.
Very, very common. And it could be that, maybe they don't get enough acceptance at home and they want attention at school, and so they're bringing these harmful identities because they want attention, whether it's negative or positive. Maybe they'll engage in, like harmful things like cutting or things that really don't serve them but help them mentally feel like they're getting attention and they're being accepted in some way because someone asks how they're doing. And if that's the only way that you can get someone to ask you how you're doing, it's
destructive.
It's very destructive.
And Rachel, I really understand this deeply because I used to be the one who self-harmed. I used to be the depressed one, the anxious one, the one who had all these problems. And I would sit in these rooms with people who identified as all these things you're saying. They would self-diagnose bipolar. They'd self-diagnose, dissociative disorder. Like they'd have multiple personalities, and they self-diagnose everything. And it's like, wait, do you actually have any of these? And the funny thing, I'll never forget this. This one therapist I had, she interviewed thousands of girls in this place I lived in, Marin. She said, all the things in common that all these people have, they're rich, they're wealthy, they have perfect families, they're perfectly fine people. They have everything that poor people don't have, and they have a great life when you look on the outside. But they're truly very lonely. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me forever because I'm like, these people, even the people that are in the body positivity, overweight people, underweight people, they're just lonely.
Mm-hmm. That's just a human thing. We kind of are built for connection.
It's true.
And community.
It's true.
And to not be the Lone Ranger. Being Lone Ranger's overrated. And I was thinking about the whole body positivity movement. And what I sense energetically is there's this story about this old man that goes, he's a fisherman, and he's out on the pier with this big bucket of crabs, and he's using the crabs as bait to go fishing. And a little boy comes down the boardwalk, and he sees this crab on the edge, like he's about to fall out, with no lid on it. And he's like, sir, your crab's about to get out. And the old man looks at the bucket, and he goes, oh, no, it's okay. They will make sure he doesn't get out. And so the whole principle is with the crabs in the bucket is that what's really dangerous is that when someone wants to be the crab that gets out of the bucket, like your friend that had parents that were 600 pounds and he decided to take a stand for himself, and now there's friction between he and the parents. He's ready to be the crab out of the bucket. And when you've got people that they do not want you to change because that means now they assume they're not enough. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be a way to relate anymore.
The jealousy.
Yes.
The jealousy of, oh, you look so good and I wish I could be there and I don't know how.
And so there can be projections of, oh, you think you're better. Or like this energy against energy, however you want to put words to it, towards the person that is the crab getting out of the bucket. And it really, these harsh or unkind projections to get them to slide back down to stay in the bucket. So I think it's really important to address the emotional component that when someone does have enough energy in the system to start taking action, that they may have some resistance from the crab still in the bucket.
Totally.
For sure. It's come up all the time with people that I've helped with either weight loss or health transformational journeys. And I think that's why the community aspect is perhaps even more important than the know-how.
Environment. It's what I would say is one of the things that I read in a book called Atomic Habits is that you need to find a way to mold your own environment so that it best supports your success.
Yeah, because sphere of influence.
Exactly,
will
your
either
sphere
kill you or
exactly. If you have friends that are all overweight and that believe that body positivity is toxic positivity. Toxic positivity being like ignoring your body and not truly feeling in for what you want. Not what your mind wants, but what you want. Like when they ignore their bodies, shove down emotions, say that they're mentally unstable and claim all these things just to get attention, and they want you to do the same thing, you will eventually start sliding into the same patterns that they slide into because you are most influenced by the people that you hang around, whether that's your parents, your family, or the people that you hang around in school, or maybe that you're forced to be around in school. So it's very important to take a stand for yourself. If you're not okay being in a certain situation, to try to talk to your parents, maybe have a conversation with your parents. Hey, I don't truly appreciate the way that you handle this sometimes. I would really like it if you could treat me just a little bit differently in these situations. Or if you could, the worst thing is like if they won't listen to you, maybe just like subtle avoidance to just be able to have more time to you, to meditate, to listen to yourself. Or if your friends are treating you badly, it's okay to distance yourself. Like, I didn't have many friends through high school, not because I was an outcast. I'm a very social person, and I enjoy being, friends with people. But when I realized that I don't want to live the sort of life that I know they're going to end up in, and that I don't want to be a crutch for their mental instability, then I'm just realizing, okay, well, it's okay for me to distance myself. And even if that means that I have no friends and I can focus on myself, learn, do this, do that, I'm okay with that, because I want to create the best version of me, and by being involved with them, I might not be creating the best version of me. So I think creating your environment with as much power as you have, and realizing you do have power in those situations, is really important. And there's also smaller things that is talked about in Atomic Habits, like put your running shoes out if you want to go for a run. Put your workout clothes on your bed, or put a book on your pillow if you want to read more before you go to bed at night. Oh, and make negative habits harder to do. Like if you eat chips a lot,
don't buy them.
Hide them with carrots.
Don't buy them. If they're in your parents' house, hide them somewhere.
A brilliant trick that I tried.
Kale chips.
I tried this trick once because I was like, I wanted to test myself. When I was 200 pounds, I tested this. I was like, okay, I realize I'm eating a whole bag of chips. I'm going to replace that bag with carrots and just see what happens. I ate half the bag of carrots. I was much more full, didn't want more food afterwards, and I felt great. But when I ate the bag of chips, I felt bad. I knew I was going to gain weight. I knew it was bad for my body. I knew it was bad for my skin, blah, blah. It's just like, it is and it isn't so simple, right? It is so simple to just change your environment, change your habits, and make choices for yourself. And I relate to Rachel on a very deep level, because I lost all my friends because I self-improved, because I graduated high school a year and a half early, and I studied 12 hours a day so I could, get out of the matrix. Like, I just did all these things because I wanted to better myself. And when people didn't want to see success for me, I dropped them like a fly, because I knew that those people are like the crabs. They're trying to drag me down, keep me miserable, sad, depressed, lonely, and that's not what I want for myself, because we deserve better, right? We want to better ourselves, and we deserve that group. And if we can't find people like that, we have to love ourselves enough to know that they'll come one day, and trust in that higher power, that higher being is going to come down and bring us what we need, and show us the journey, and show us the path, and that, being lonely is sometimes okay.
Yeah.
I think we have to be lonely and sad enough and get to that really dark place so that we can then rise up, right? Like a resurrection in a way.
Yeah, but I just want to reiterate it, Penelope, because what you said requires a lot of courage. And I'm sure we've all been there, because we've had conviction about things we know in our bones are true. And then we had to kind of have the courage to step out and be different, and then wait in trust so we could attract the people that are really going to align with our will and our energy and our goals and our values and our vision.
One thing I just want to say to all of you out there is that you don't have to be friends with the crabs in the bucket because you feel like that's your only option.
Right.
You don't have to. It's okay to acknowledge somebody that has a lifestyle that maybe you don't support, and be like, okay, I love you anyway. Because that's a big thing, especially like with Christianity. I feel like a lot of people come from a place of prejudice and lawfulness, and you're not supposed to be this, you're not supposed to be this, but like respecting that someone has the freedom to make their own choices, and they have their reasons, and they have their reason for being right about it. And so they are right about it. And you might think they're wrong, but there's something in there where they are right. And because there's a reason, and there is a place that it comes from. So being able to respect them and say, hey, I love you, and I have compassion for you, and if you need help, you can reach out. But I'm not going to be here to listen to you complain.
Yeah, I'm not your crutch.
Like I will love you no matter what, but I'm not going to I'm not going to give you advice you won't listen to. So I want you to come to me if you truly want to change and you truly want to be helped. Because I find that there are some people out there that really want to be out of that crab in the bucket situation, but they don't see.
I don't know how. I think you bring up a really important point. We hear so much today about toxic masculinity, but we don't hear as much about toxic femininity. And what you're describing is what I would consider as kind of toxic femininity. We don't relate at all like that, but many women are basically sharing and complaining, and then their friends are colluding and siding with them.
Tea spilling, guys.
And no, it's really dangerous.
I see this all the time in school. Girls love putting down other girls because it creates less competition for the women who are beautiful. So the women that are beautiful will put down the women that are struggling and keep them down and keep them down and keep them down, feeding them negativity. I've been in those loops before.
Oh, yeah.
And I was torn up in school. Torn up, and they kept me down for a long time. And as I rose up and started improving myself, those people would still try to push me down because they saw, oh, she's becoming something. She's losing the weight. She's achieving her goals. She's has her guy, all these things. And it's very interesting that women do that because it creates less competition for them in this marketplace of, relationships and friendships. And it's very interesting because when I talk to some of my friends, and I'm positive, they're almost shocked that I'm not negative, that I'm not speaking negatively, gossiping, cursing, being promiscuous and eating bad food. They're like shocked. It's like they want to hear me say something negative, and I'm like, sorry, got nothing for you because I don't want to give you anything to feed off of. That's not why we live.
Compassion and love will put you leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else.
And you shine. There's a glow. There's like this glow that you get.
And someone will go up and ask you, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And see, that's where you get the attention. That's where you get a positive attention. Someone sees you succeed, and someone sees you get out of the bucket, and they're like, how did you do that? I want to do that. And so then in that positive, that gives you an affirmation of, oh, I'm doing well. People want to also succeed, but when you can be happy in yourself, you don't need to lean on other people and lean on crabs in the bucket because that's your only option. Because
I think that's what you just said is exactly why you guys are doing what you're doing. Is so that people have a place to go and to create a community and have belonging and actually have people that have gotten out of the bucket to welcome them to a new world. And so that they can see a new way through and to see what's possible. And when I really tune into what it feels like when you are the crab in the bucket, all of us have been there in some way in our life, there can be some despair. And you just don't realize something else is possible beyond what you're feeling. You kind of get trapped in that bucket, and then you become comfortable because getting out feels really uncomfortable. And then when you've got the crabs in the bucket coming almost against you for leaving them, it makes it real tricky. And so I just want to acknowledge what you guys are up to in creating not only a way out, but giving them something to live towards, to create, to see possibility, to see themselves in that, and that they can actually have cheerleaders, like amazing feminine cheerleaders, and in various ages here, that shows them not only what's possible, but then the world becomes their playground in what they want to create.
Right, yeah. I mean, can we just acknowledge also our girls?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just sitting here like, oh my gosh. These girls are so amazing. So, good job, Mom.
But I have to add to what Shannon said, though. Because I've been called to say this. It's like, for anyone watching, the power that you seek is actually within you. It's not within anyone else. It's not within a person or a show or a YouTube channel or an Instagram account or an influencer. It's not within someone else. It's actually within you, and you have to do the inner work and find that pain and turn it around, because you actually have the power to do that. And actually, no therapist or guide. Like, no one can do that actually but you. And you actually have the power to take that next step out of bed. You have the power to step towards your door and open it, brush your teeth. You have those steps. You can actually do it. You have something that you can actively do to change your situation. It's just about the willingness and the power and where you find it from.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that awareness. So, Shannon, can I share something that you've been sharing? Okay, so you know this, Rachel. Your mom's on this journey leading up to her 50th birthday in October, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and so she and I were on the phone the other day, a few months ago, and she said, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this thing that I'm doing?" And I'm like, "Of course, whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it." And she said that it's her weight less journey, and I thought, wow. That's really powerful. And so I've been listening to your mom, and I don't think you've heard it yet, but Shannon's been sharing so vulnerably about her life and her journey in a weightless sense. And it's about so much more than weight, but of course that's a part of it. So I'd love it if you share a little bit with us about this weightless journey that you've been on, what its significance and meaning is, and what you've learned. And I'll also share a few things, too, that I've learned, but I'm just curious. Yeah.
Thank you. So my weight journey over my lifetime, when I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, I bet you I have had a relationship with at least 200 pounds up and down through all the years. And each of my children, I gained at least 50 pounds and would lose majority of it, but have a little bit left. And then, so it's definitely been over 200 pounds. And because of the journey that I've been on over the past 12, really diving deeply into emotions and patterns that we get ourselves into subconsciously that you don't realize, you don't know what you don't know on why you're stuck doing a thing. And life starts running you instead of you making the choices and not feeling at choice. And you're not even realizing these patterns, these subconscious patterns that are running. And so that's been something I've been very, very passionate about. And one of the things that I was just noticing with my body is that there has been in the past, and it's something that I'm currently working on, is just weight that was feeling a bit stuck. And I'm sitting there looking at the choices that I am making with food. And of course, things could always be improved, or even exercise. Sure, things could be improved, but really with a very clear conscience, feeling in a good space, emotionally, physically, making great choices, but still seeing the weight that I would love to allow to be released. And even with me having such a loving relationship with my own body, like looking into that and what was coming through as I went into this weightless journey was that I was actually carrying all of these pounds that didn't belong to me. They were in my lineage. And that they had a story that they wanted to tell. And I went in and just created these like very loving times with myself. You could call it a visualization or meditation. And I just went in almost like a prayer of just how might I connect with what's going on in my body and really thank the people that have gone before me for whatever they've gone through, whatever stress, trauma that they've gone through, and allow this vessel to release that sweetly with kindness and acknowledgement, but to not be tethered or hold on to it like it's my weight to bear.
This is so huge.
So huge.
So Shannon taught me this practice of before I go to bed to release these attachments, whether they're ancestral, generational, whether they're from people that I just saw at the gas station or the grocery store, but to really release this. And I think I lost probably 10 or 15 pounds just doing this visualization. It changed nothing else. I mean, I was like, wow, I'm waking up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything's feeling a little different. And it was such a powerful practice, and it was purely energetic.
Yes.
And I have noticed, and I started thinking about this when I started to see the results for myself. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I started thinking about all the people that I've helped lose weight over the years. And there are some commonalities. They're all very sensitive people, like wearing their heart on their sleeve sensitive.
And major helpers, probably.
Yeah. I mean, you could even call them somewhat codependent, perhaps, but very empathetic, and almost to the point where people who put weight on are also very sensitive, but also they're absorbing, like shock absorbers. Like I know I can help, and I'm going to help.
They are the people who are the crutches. They are the people who are the crutches for the crabs in the bucket. They're the people that are there when their friends are having suicidal thoughts, and they're there to like help to give them advice. And they care so much, it rips their heart apart when they hear their friends talk about that. I've even been that friend. Yeah. I'm sure that many people in our generation, it's really sad. Like many people in schools have been the crutch, have been the friend, but they care so much about their other friend that they're not willing to step back and not be a part of it. Like they care so much. And they take it on. Yeah, they take on the responsibility of feeling like their friend's life is in their hands.
Well, the irony is that it's also how a good Christian girl, that's how I was raised in a very Christian family, and it's like that's just who you are. You overserve, you overdo, you overgive, because that's just what you do as a good Christian girl.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, as we grow up and we start to see, okay, is this harming me or is this helping me? I don't think I ever equated the fact that the weight was there carrying stuff from other people. And who do I think I am? I mean, that's God's job, not my job. I thought, well, that's pretty egotistical.
Like me. Playing God.
Right. So I'm just like, want to pause just for a moment because this has just been such a huge realization for me. And I'd love to hear about your experiences also, kind of giving that back to source, or I don't know how your process was, but that little seed that you planted with me was extremely powerful.
Just bringing the awareness alone that the weight that you're carrying on your body may not belong with you and actually isn't yours. It could be, again, someone that you've been in service of most recently, but it can also be in your lineage. Just the awareness of like, and whoever's listening to that, if you could pause a moment and go, what would that mean? Because if you actually accept that as a new possibility, that literally gives the cells the possibility of starting to release something that doesn't have to be held on to in a permanent way. It makes, what I love about the energetic work is that then the action that you're taking with choices with your foods or your exercise, mindset shift, and the emotions that you start living in, it lets all of that start working at like hyper speed instead of if I'm wanting to hold on to the weight and I decide this is all mine, it's almost like you can have some resistance even in those really great choices. Like I've made lots of great choices in my life and seen sometimes where I've had resistance with my body letting it go. And so I believe doing this energetic piece of releasing any attachments to holding on to that lets all of these other beautiful actions that are being the crab getting out of the bucket actually work so much faster with more ease and grace.
Yeah, because I think at our age especially, we don't necessarily want to respond to life being someone's daughter or only someone's wife or only someone's mother. It's like we're really coming into ourselves now in a way that I don't think I've ever been able to. And to be able to hear my own wisdom and my own voice as not influenced by this other stuff that I'm carrying has been a huge gift. What are you guys hearing in this?
There you go. Do you want to go first? No. Okay. Well, I think that that's very valuable. And I think that it's something that really needs to be recognized by today's generation, like the Gen Z generation. Like, it's a very heavy weight to bear when, like, I'm saying this from a place of knowing and experiencing that this is highly common. Like, I know many people who have suicidal thoughts or self-diagnose, or maybe that are diagnosed and think there's something wrong with them. Like, it's okay to not have anything wrong with you. I want to share that. It truly, like, think about it.
Like you can be special.
And like you can be special without having something wrong with you.
Yeah.
You can be really special in yourself without having the weight of problems or without having the weight of other people's problems.
Yeah.
It's okay to be functional, and it's okay to be basic. It's okay to want to get your Starbucks before your 8 a.m. classes. I mean, maybe not all the sugar, but you know what I mean. Okay, it's okay to be born as a female and to want to be a female. It's okay to be a Christian and to stay with your faith and to find a reason that the faith matters to you. And it's also okay to, just accept yourself. It's okay to accept yourself as being basic if you want to be basic. It's okay to have blonde hair. You don't need to dye your hair. It's okay to have brown hair. You don't need to dye your hair. And it's okay to have the color eyes that you have. You don't need to put on eye contacts. Like, you don't have to change the way that you are because you feel like other people would accept you more if you were different. Because I feel like a lot of people, even with sexuality, feel like there's almost a peer pressure around it, and that might not be it at all. You could feel it from inside of you that something truly feels wrong, and that it feels different. And there's a want for acceptance. And I know a lot of people that have been driven away from Christ because of the lack of acceptance in the Christian community. It's like if someone is born in a female body and feels like they're a boy and explains that to their Christian family and feels like they're ostracized or not loved or not accepted, they're going to run away to a place where they feel accepted. Right. Yeah. So I feel like there's a loss of wisdom when you feel like you have to run away because there's a lot of prejudice around it. So,
I think it's really interesting that you brought that point up. I think what's really comes to play in our generation is like the lack of wanting to learn. And so even like when prejudice does come up, when it's with weight, when someone says you should lose weight, I find that even personally for me, like I'm always interested in everyone's opinions because I want to learn why people think the way they do. I'll never go in and just judge someone just like that. Like I don't even really believe in judging. It's more about like I want to learn why you think this is okay and where that comes from and why you feel that way. Like even with my own parents, like I hated my father for a long time until I learned what had happened to him as a kid. And when I learned what had happened to him as a kid, I didn't hate him anymore because I learned this is not something he was trying to put on me. This is something that happened to him in his past life, and that's why he reacted this way. Not that it's okay, but it's like I have to forgive it because holding on, like you're saying, doesn't serve me. And the victim mentality of like we need to like our parents did this and our parents did that. I mean, like I'm 18. My dad left when I was 4. He lives in Europe, and now he's my best friend. Everyone has a choice of how they choose to live, and you have a choice in how you choose to have your relationships and who you talk to and what choices you choose. And I think being open to learning about what people have and why they have it and how they say it and why they feel this way would create more peace for people. And it's really important. It's something we lack a lot in our generation.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Totally agree with that.
Beautiful. So what do you think is a true cause of weight gain or weight issues?
Probably the victim mentality. That plays a really big role. Like when you think everyone else is the problem except you, it allows you to enable all the behavior you're doing, whether you're a drug addict or an alcoholic or a food addict. It's like that crutch, like we were talking about. It's like the crutch to say, oh, it's okay, I can do this. And that's what I think is a true cause of weight gain.
How about you, Rachel? What do you think?
I think that it's very emotional based. I think that it plays into what you were saying, but there's also the aspect of, I think also one of the biggest things here is acceptance. Like there's the feeling of, I want to be accepted, so I'm going to do whatever is socially acceptable to be accepted. And so what is, think about it this way. What is the loudest thing that we're going to hear? On TikTok, it's the body positivity movement. On TikTok, it's happy pride, love yourself. It's okay. And then cast out the people that don't approve of who you are. Cast out the people who don't accept. We accept you no matter how you are. You should go to a therapist if you are mentally unstable. We see lots of kids that are in therapy now. It's you listen to what is the loudest, and let's say most people are on their phones now because they don't want to be around their family because maybe they don't feel accepted by their family, or they don't like having parents that discipline them, or maybe their parents are absent. And so I think that the phone is raising most of our generation, and so they're very highly influenced by what they hear most. And so it's the emotional aspect of feeling attached to your phone, like your phone is the thing that supports you. It's your crutch.
Yep, it's attachments.
It's
too,
attachments.
Right?
It's attachments, and it's emotional and mental attachments to what is loudest. And with TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, all that stuff. A lot of the stuff that's being fed into this generation is exactly what I was saying, body positivity therapy, all of this stuff. It's okay. It's okay to be mentally unstable. It's okay to not want to work out. It's okay to be this way. And, I think that all of that places from a place of wanting to be accepted and doing what's most socially acceptable and emotionally what supports somebody. Because if it's not socially supported to grow, people aren't going to grow. If it's not socially supported to work out, people aren't going to work out. If it's not socially supported to eat healthy, like you've also got to know that there's like more fast food out there than there is healthy food. It's harder to make good food than it is to make that food. So
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I
oh well, yeah, okay. Probably not. It's probably not true, but some people may think that way.
To learn how to do it, it's changing any kind of change, learning something new.
Yes,
there's a
level of resistance.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. It's definitely more readily accessible.
Yeah. It may seem that way to some people.
Yes.
That's where the victim mentality comes in. It's the tyranny of how.
The tyranny of how.
I
like that.
Yeah, the tyranny of how. It's not my thing that I came up with, but it's like when you have to wonder how to do something, you likely won't end up doing it because you won't end up going to figure out how because it feels too hard. So it's like, how do I cook healthy? Well, I don't know, and then you stop right there. You stop before you try because it's the tyranny of how. Or, oh wow, I want to work out at the gym, but I don't know how. I'm not going to work out at the gym now because I don't have a friend that does it, or I don't have someone that can easily. It's not easy. When it's not easy and the tyranny of how comes into play, then it's easy to shut off anything that's growth related.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Shannon, I'd love to hear what you think the root of weight gain is, but before we do that, I'd love to hear anything else that Weightless, this journey, has shown you. Because you're now just a couple months away from the big birthday, and I just get the sense there's like a unveiling, layer by layer, as you focus on it. I mean, it's really what I sense as a real sincere focus and curiosity.
What started out more around body weight focused has radically shifted. It's more like the layers of what created there to be weight on there to begin with, physical weight, pounds. And then it's transformed into how do you carry weight? Any kind of weight. Emotional weight, mental weight, spiritual weight. So it's been almost become a practice of tuning in and listening to, am I holding on to weight that doesn't belong to me? And or am I taking on weight in a way that I'm making it heavier than it needs to be? So it really just brings in a lot of awareness to yourself and internal dialogue and just being really in tune with yourself and how you're dialoguing with all the things. So it's been really fun. It's been a play on words, weightless. I'm like, I really like that. That was actually something I was in like a prayerful meditation state, and I was like, what do I want to call this? Not weight, weight loss, and then it was just weightless, and I went, whoa, that's it, weightless. So I'm having a lot of fun being in inquiry about what that word means. And the other thing I would say is for anyone that's watching that they're just finding themselves with less energy, I've recently, over the past couple of months, had a really intense season of service. that I absolutely, my husband and I were called to, but that I felt myself really tired. And so the way that I've wanted to take care of myself is not near as physical active. It still has its roots in wanting to create movement, but it's very nourishing. It's much slower. It's at a different pace. So that's also something that I want to, address, is for people to really tune into where is the energy in the system, and what is loving themselves, and what's available, instead of it. I just won't do force anymore at all with myself. But that doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be movement of some sort.
It's riding that balance between like the inertia from sedentary living and the restoration that's possible inside of that, and not letting it become too much of a habit, so to say, and also the other end of that spectrum, which is aggression, of doing more because you feel like you're less or you're not good enough or you overeaten or whatever. You can't outrun your fork. I can I can attest to that.
You can't eat out your fork.
And that sedentary lifestyle, is unhealthy, but we do need restoration. So it's like finding that balance between the two in a way that's serving ourselves in a loving way.
Well, just like a lot of the practices that you do, incorporating yoga-esque, dance-esque. You want to say something? After you. Okay. Incorporating the way you have been using movement is just so beautiful, because it has its own life, and you get to do it from the inside out. And what I love about a practice like that is it really gives a voice to what wants to come through. The authenticity of that and the genuine nature of that and what allows to be expressed is really powerful.
So powerful. Really quick, Rachel. So right when you started the Weightless vlog, I guess I'll call it, I took this class, this embodiment class, and it was talking about how we handle our weight in our bodies, right? And people all shapes and sizes and ages were in this class. And I was working with the weight in an embodiment practice where I was just like literally moving the weight, right? Starting foot to foot, and then arm to arm, and just really feeling it in my body, and then using it like a pendulum. How are we using this weight? Are we letting it bog us down? Are we lifting it, or are we struggling with it, or are we actually using the weight and creating movement and motion and dynamic nature in our movement? It was such a helpful way to contextualize it, like not so much cerebral, for me at least, and then to really embody the idea of weight, how I'm carrying it, and what I'm doing with it.
You gave it a voice.
Yeah.
I love giving it a voice and bringing in, whether it's the physical expression or it's the emotion coming through the voice. I love being able to give it a voice.
Yeah, because it's interesting when we carry weight, or we're feeling weighed down, sad, depressed, or even angry. Certain things and how we do it.
I want to speak to that real quick, especially when you were talking about femininity. I sense there could be some upgrades for some women to know how to move through anger and not, and it to be done in a really healthy way.
100%.
And movement and connecting to what's coming up that's a frustration or a sadness or an anger, and being able to fully express that as out of devotion and care for yourself, and it's not being aimed at another person. So you're not having to be concerned if you have values or beliefs that sees anger as dangerous, because maybe you've seen it misused and it's been abusive. But how do you use that anger as a way, almost like this beautiful offering, to let it be released, but you're not aiming it at a person, so it feels safe, but it allows, like when you were using the jump rope with fear.
Oh, yeah, but it's something that can be even more powerful for women that have a lot of anger stuck inside them, because I used to have a lot of anger from men stuck inside me, and the best way to do it was when we did we do our embodiment movement practices with music. We'll do like a jumping jack, and we'll clear, and when you clear, you go, ha!
Yes.
You know, or like you go, or if you're like, you don't want it to be loud, I just go, ha! With my sound of my breath. And it's the most powerful thing, because it's like, it's not taking it out on anyone, any human, but it's letting it go, freeing it from your body, which is freeing weight. It's freeing weight of the emotion and freeing you, because it's like you can't say those things to those people you're angry at or that thing you're upset about. But when you release it, it doesn't become a part of you anymore. It becomes a part of it, and it is now let go of.
Yeah, a lot of women who have, real quick, fertility problems, pain in their hips or back, like a lot of that stuff just dissipates when you start doing that.
It doesn't become harmful. There's a line. Emotions are not meant to be harmful in our bodies. They're just natural processes that we go through. So when you allow emotions to just be emotions, they're not good, they're not bad. They are what they are. And when you can release them, they don't become harmful in any way.
I'm a huge preacher of that. And the attachment, like I go back to what Shannon said about attachment to emotions and attachments in general. Everyone is very attached to this thing, the phone, the food, that movement, that body, that screen, that look, that model. And it's like, when we get rid of the attachments we have, we become more free because we're no longer reliant on things that don't serve us.
And you can also figure out who you are. A lot of people these days don't know who they are. Like if I think it's something for you guys to think about. Like if I looked into your eyes right now and I said, "Who are you?" and you don't explain to me what your hobbies are, and you don't explain to me this or that. Maybe you could say, I'm creative, or I'm great at inspiring people, or I can connect with people, not like, oh, I have a TikTok channel, I'm an influencer.
I have a Lamborghini
You could say I influence people, but you don't need, like, I'm an influencer, oh, I have a Lamborghini, oh, I have money. It's like, no. Like, when all of that fades away, who are you as a person, and what are you without anything else that you see as an item around you? Like, who are you just as a person? And when you can release like weights of other people and other things, you can truly like find out who you are as a person and what you want to, like, embodiment. It's like embodying yourself, embodying your person, and knowing that an emotion does not consume you or create your identity, that a certain illness doesn't create your identity, and things like that. Like, it's okay to release it because you are someone else. It's not, because a lot of the things that, a reason why people can't let go of their identities is because, or can't let go of illnesses is because they become their identity. Right. So if you allow that illness to not define you, then you can find like peace in who you are, in your identity and yourself, and it's okay to let go of that illness.
Yeah, re-identifying with who you are at your core is really essential, and you're right, most of us don't have access to that.
Yeah.
But it's a really important way to communicate and to source self from that pure, true essence that isn't clouded by our fears and our self-defense and our predictable ways of being. It's a really essential part of our nature, but your generation really doesn't know it. I don't know that our generation even knows it.
So something that Helene does amazing at, and when we were doing one of our practices at my house, one of the things that you said, I loved how you use this language around coming back home.
Yeah.
And in some of the movements that we were doing, sometimes when we would be able to slow down, it was like, come back home. Come back home. And I would just love to encourage any of the younger ladies. Sometimes when you're about to hit 50, there's a lot of water under the bridge that makes you have to re-identify where home is in a lot of ways. But I just want to acknowledge this younger generation that looks like they're on a path to finding home a lot faster and being open to being in discovery around that. And I just want to encourage people to realize that home is an inner decision. It's not something that is because your outside influence is telling you what home is.
Yeah.
You've got to learn what home is.
Yeah.
How to care for it, how to clean it, how to energetically also,
Love it.
Yeah, how do we care for it and love it?
Also, guys, one thing I think would be helpful is when you notice, like, so what you were saying, like a lot of things are like you wanted to eat a hamburger and you knew it was bad, but you kept doing it. Did you ever feel like you were in a place where you were so committed to being unhealthy that you had to continue being unhealthy because it was your identity?
Oh, yeah, I identified with it. I also did it because I wanted to rebel against her and make her mad because I was so mad at her for taking it away from me my whole life that I just wanted to shove it in her face and make it my identity and just I just wanted to like totally take that thing and make it like identify with it and make it my whole personality.
And did you ever feel guilty or shameful that you felt that way, or that you were trying to come at it with that energy?
I felt shameful for myself. I felt shameful because when I looked in the mirror, I hated how I looked. I couldn't leave the house anymore. I couldn't interact with people anymore. I couldn't wear a dress anymore. I couldn't go out and look pretty because I didn't look pretty, because I didn't fit in those clothes, and I just would never be that girl until I became that girl, until I chose to stop identifying with it and become that girl that I had always wanted to be.
One thing I was going to share is a really good way to kind of self-assure yourself when you're in a position like that, when you know it's wrong, but you've identified it with it for so long that you feel like you can't let it go, is don't be afraid to let go of mistakes that you spent a long time making.
Yeah.
That is one of the quotes that I kind of live by now. It's like you can be really, really deeply in something. Like you can constantly be in a pattern of unhealthiness, or a pattern that's maybe gone on for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, 10 years. You can still let go of mistakes that you spent a long time making, and it's okay. Like even a business that you spent a really long time making, but it really wasn't a good plan and it wasn't structured well, you can let it go. Like it's okay to let go of mistakes you spent a long time making, because they're mistakes. And sometimes we do spend a long time making them, but it's never too late to just let them go.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Shannon, what do you think is the true cause of weight gain or weight issues? It doesn't have to be only gain. Like we all have these issues.
The way they're holding weight. The energetics, the emotion, which emotion's energetics, why they're holding on to weight, and the way they're identifying with the weight. Going back to what you were saying, Rachel, it's almost like that becomes a part of their identity or their story, or their disbelief becomes really big as their belief of what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
I really believe it comes back to energetics. And then what the energetics is pointing at is this. We only rise up to the level of energy that we have access to. And that's one of the things that you guys are doing together as a team with Step It Up, is you are bringing energy into the system and showing a path through. You're bringing in lots of grace and lots of possibility to people that may not have energy in the system yet to have that belief for themselves.
Yeah.
But you're showing them that there's a way to get out of the bucket with crabs, that there's a way and it's possible, and that they can do it for themselves.
Yeah.
And that when they come out of that, that there's actually a community that will welcome them into their new home.
Yeah.
That they get to identify what that gets to be and release whatever the weight is. And I don't want to downplay the lineage, the generational weight that we can have in pattern. I know, like you guys, and even with your mom, Helene, there was a pattern there. And I just want to acknowledge you guys for doing the work to prevent that from going on to future generations and showing a new possibility. Not that the old possibility was wrong or bad.
Right.
It was just a pattern that was not a choice.
Yeah.
Until you had more energy in the system and were able to make a choice to like, no, we're going to do it in a new way. So I just acknowledge you guys for getting out of the bucket. And,
Thank you.
and then using, and also something that Rachel was talking about, about this identifying with something being wrong. I just want to encourage you that, hold on, that thought just left. Okay, that's okay. It'll come back.
It's so powerful to have us do our work for our daughters and our sons. It's pretty incredible that you're taking this journey on, knowing that 50 is a really big, important threshold. I mean, it's only as big as important as we make it, but still, I think it is a big deal, actually. I just feel it. And I think it's so much responsibility to have a child that it's really important that we do our work energetically to clean it up, whether they participate or not.
Yeah, that's a big thing with being a parent, whether a mom or dad. And I've even seen it, like almost stepping into a parenting role when you're like babysitting or something. It's kids don't know how to develop their own opinions yet, so it's really important that if you are feeling stressed or something like that, that you take yourself out of that position, go handle your stuff, go release your emotions, and then come back to your kids so that you're not projecting on them, because they don't understand that it's not their fault. Right. So they're very gentle, vulnerable, and very, what's it called? They're easily influenced.
Yeah,
they're very, very, very impressionable people. So I think it's really important for parents to make sure that they have all of their stuff in line and make sure that they're okay with themselves so that they can be very present with their kids. So
yeah, that doesn't mean perfect. That just means,
Of course, yeah.
That we've got
But
tools.
try, be aware.
Yeah, just awareness.
Awareness.
I want to speak on that real quick. So one of the things that I've found has worked really well with our kiddos, and definitely we've been very imperfect parents, is just really, especially if a parent starts having more awareness around any of this, is being able with complete humility and to go to your kiddos and just be like, man, I have really messed this part up. And I've been doing my best. So not like in a, beat yourself up way, but in a healthy, like, I want you to know I've really been doing my best. And around this, I now have new awareness. And I want to apologize and ask your forgiveness around these inadequacies. I've done that with our kids. And it's not like this smooth move that means everything is permissible, but it's really a cleaning up energetically. Mm-hmm. To move forward. So I want to encourage, I haven't met any perfect parents thus far, and I don't know that I'm going to. And so there can be this beautiful grace. And here's something for the young people and the parents. You have the perfect lineage. You have the perfect genealogy. You have the perfect mom and dad to set you up for your path. Totally. In the difficulties and in the things that work. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, we wouldn't be doing this podcast if you guys would not have gone through what you both have gone through with weight and with your moms and your dads that were imperfect. There's this actual study where they took amoebas in a petri dish and they knew the perfect environment that they needed to thrive. And so they gave it to them and they all died. Because they needed a little wrestle, a little struggle, a little imperfection to thrive. Yeah. And so I just want to encourage, as much as sometimes when we're hearing this and we think about what you went through, and I can feel this for your mom, like sometimes as parents we can be like, oh gosh, we so missed it. Like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have. No, actually, it was perfect.
I'm glad it happened. And let me close you guys off with this, because I think everything happens for a reason. Nothing is happening to you. If you have that mindset, get rid of it, because it's not serving you. It never will. Everything happens for a reason. I'm glad that I gained all the weight. I'm glad that I was depressed and suicidal and sad and did every freaking thing I could imagine that was not good. But I'm glad I did it all at a young age, because now I get to live the rest of my life in a very happy, loving place where I never have to experience those things anymore, because I'm now educated on a lot of these things and I can now help other people.
The difficulty became your promotion.
Love that.
I love that.
I think it goes to failure versus success, and failure being on the road to success. It's not failure's the end. It's not failure versus success. It's failure until success.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am one.
I love that. Okay, well, thank you all of you guys for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure having you guys on. I hope that the audience enjoys this conversation. If you guys want to hear more collaborations like this, and if you guys want to see more videos from us with Shannon and Rachel, please comment down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will put your guys' Instagram handles, websites, etc. under in the description, so you can go look at that if you want to reach out to them and follow them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us on here.
Anytime.
So excited for you guys.
Thank you.